Fair warning, as you heard from Tom Holland himself at the beginning of the trailer, if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet, stop now. The trailer and this JL's Comics breakdown include spoilers for Endgame. Put this in your watch later queue and come back to this once you've seen the movie. So let's jump right into it. We're doing a full breakdown and analysis for the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer 2 that released on May 6, 2019. So what do we know so far? Okay, so this movie is supposed to take place moments after the events of Avengers Endgame. Mysterio is the villain in the movie and utilizes the power of the elementals, terrorizing Europe in the process for all of his schemes. Spider-Man is also on a trip to Europe with his classmates, who are also presumably dusted in Infinity War because they're all the same age, so they had to have been. We also saw both Peter Parker and Nick Fury, among others, at the end of Endgame at Tony Stark's funeral. So there isn't a ton of new information that we learn here, but we do get a little bit of new information, and we'll dive right into what we have gleaned from this trailer. So Mysterio, who's played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is the moniker for Quentin Beck. Mysterio is a villain with the mastery of special effects, and assuming what he says is truthful, is also far from his home. I will say this, in Brian Michael Bendis' 2012 miniseries called Spiderman, Mysterio is able to hop dimensions so that he can commit crimes without anybody knowing who he is. There's a Mysterio from our universe, which is called the 616 universe in the comic books, and a Mysterio from another universe called the 1610 universe. In other words, precedent has been set, so it's not out of the realm of possibility, but hey, we could always just say it's nanotech. Also, while there has been heavy reference to Hydra Man, Multiman, Whirlwind, and Sandman, there's also another group of elementals that come from another dimension as well. For more on that, see my other Spider-Man Far From Home videos. That said, some of the toys released seem to confirm that it's the traditional characters. The link for the video outlining those, like Hellfire, Hydron, and Magnum, is here. We do get what looks like another elemental over the bridge in London, but it also kind of looks like the wind and water and fire mixed together, so I wonder if they form like this elemental Megazord, like a super beast, but maybe a fourth one. The trailer opens with Spider-Man in the Iron Spider suit. We actually get to see a few different suits in the trailer in the movie. The Spider-Man classic suit, the Iron Spider suit, and his stealth suit, but this must be towards the beginning of the movie with the Iron Spider suit as set up, because we know this movie travels to Europe and Peter has his suitcase, his uncle's old suitcase at that, and this Iron Spider suit probably won't fit in there, nor would it make it through customs. One thing he does have with him are a pair of Tony's sunglasses, which means nanotech, access to Jarvis, maybe a tracking signal that Fury uses. Maybe. It seems like Happy's maintaining his relationship with Spider-Man, and he helps keep levity for the characters. We have our moments of mourning and feelings of loss, but they're punctuated with fun and excitement, as a Spider-Man film should have, right? We see that next when Happy Hogan asks Peter if he ghosted Nick Fury, sending him to voicemail, not answering his calls, disappearing. He really did send Fury to voicemail. The joke picks up later when Nick Fury shows up in person and tells Peter, "You're a hard person to get a hold of, Spider-Man." We also get to see a nice piece of graffiti of Iron Man's helmet. It tells us that the world is mourning the loss of Iron Man. His presence in the MCU has been a large one. And not only is there a hole in space and time now, there's a hole in people's hearts. And it's symbolized in his wearing of the Iron Spider suit, which was a gift from Tony himself. Tony in the MCU has become the Uncle Ben to Peter Parker. With Tony's death, he's fully realizing the great responsibility that comes with great power. Avengers Tower once again makes an appearance. Someone bought the building in Spider-Man Homecoming. It went from Stark Tower to Avengers Tower and now bought. Could it be the Baxter Building? Is this where Reed Richards will be reverse engineering tech from Thanos' crashed spaceship, the Sanctuary 2? If it's not the Baxter Building, it's also possible it will be Oscorp, the headquarters for Norman Osborn, and something that could give us the Sinister Six, which it seems like they're leading towards. We already have Scorpion, the Vulture, Shocker, Tinkerer. Here we have Mysterio, and Osborn as Goblin will be part of that, of course. While Ned Leeds in the comic books does become Hobgoblin, I honestly don't see that happening to a nice guy like Jacob Batalon's character. This is Mr. Beck. Beck is from Earth, just not ours. The snap tore a hole in our dimension, Nick Fury said, and Peter responded, "Are you saying there's a multiverse?" So this leans into the multiverse theory quite heavily as a plot device going forward for the entirety of the MCU. But let's not forget that Sony introduced the concept of the multiverse for Marvel properties in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and it was really picked up on with this most recent film, Endgame. With that in mind, let's not forget that Donald Glover appeared as Aaron Davis in Homecoming and referenced his nephew Miles, another Spider-Man. Just something to think about. Marvel loves to plant seeds for the future. Also, it seems like the conversation between Bruce Banner and the Ancient One didn't quite go as planned when Captain America put the stones back. Reality maybe was reset, but the hole remained. Maybe it was due to Loki's disappearance with the Tesseract. Regardless, the Ancient One did warn against extra-dimensional threats, now being able to come through. Same with the Doctor Strange movie. Both Wong and Baron Mordo were visibly upset when Strange was testing out the Time Stone and playing with an apple. It seems like Beck, Mysterio, is here under the guise of helping Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. stop those elementals. Fury teams Spider-Man up with Beck, and then Mysterio will most likely be revealed as the one behind the elementals attack and need to stop them. I'm not sure where all the Avengers are, like Professor Hulk and Sam Wilson Cap, but we do know, based on what's said here, that Thor is off-world, still with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Captain Marvel is unavailable. She's off-planet, off-guarding planets and hair salons as she was during Endgame. It helps to answer a question that comes up when these situations arise. Like, why not just call the Avengers? Well, you can't call Iron Man anymore for obvious reasons. And why does a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man need to help when you have gods and monsters at your disposal? Seems like everybody's predisposed. Okay, so jumping into what if territory now. In Avengers Endgame, there's a really brief scene with Peggy Carter who references a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent who hadn't checked in yet. She said Braddock. In the comic books, Braddock is Brian Braddock, Captain Britain. They are in Britain. Could he make an appearance here? Same with Dane Whitman. He's an on-again, off-again Avenger named the Black Knight. In one of his earliest stories, the Black Knight is tied to Happy Hogan and to Iron Man. There's a chunk of this movie, of course, that does take place in England, and they both of these characters have been heavily rumored to show up soon in the MCU. Most thought Endgame, but could this be their debut? Saving the world requires sacrifice. Sometimes people die, he said. It sounds like Mysterio is trying to save his Earth in his timeline, unconcerned with the lives of those in our prime Earth timeline. It sounds like he believes what he's doing is good, that it's his duty basically to help his world, and that can be extremely dangerous for others and, well, for our entire world. Finally, does MJ know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man? She's joked about it before. There's a theory going around also that MJ is related to Nick Fury. I'm not sure I buy that just yet, but MJ does like to crack jokes about what Peter's hiding. This movie has a big job to do. Not only does Spider-Man have to mourn the loss of his father figure Tony Stark, but the movie itself has to close out the MCU Phase 3 and do its best about laying the groundwork and the setting for Marvel's Phase 4. So that's it. What did you glean from this Far From Home trailer? Any cool Easter eggs? Anything that seemed as out of place as a Starbucks cup in Westeros? Let me know down in the comments below. That's it for this video, my friends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you'll be part of this rapidly growing JLS Comics family and be one of the first to know when we upload each new content each week, like an upcoming contest. I'm Jesse. This is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.